keyboard and display controller Intel 8279. The IC which shows in the slide depicts the Intel 8279, which is nothing but keyboard or display controller. It is otherwise called as Intel 8279. It is specially developed for connecting the keyboard or display devices to the microprocessor. Intel 8279 is a general purpose keyboard display controller that simultaneously drives the display of a system and interfaces keyboard with the CPU, that is microprocessor, leaving it free for its routine work. The keyboard display interface scans like the keyboard to identify if any key has been pressed, and it sends the code of the pressed key to the microprocessor. It also transmits the data received from the microprocessor to the display devices. Both of these functions are performed by the controller in a repetitive fashion without involving the microprocessor. The keyboard is interfaced either in interrupt mode or poll mode. In the interrupt mode, the microprocessor is requested service only if any key is pressed. Otherwise, the microprocessor can proceed with its main task. In polling mode, the microprocessor periodically reads an internal flag of the 8279 to check for any key press. The keyboard entries are debounced and stored in 8-byte FIFO RAM that is further accessed by the microprocessor to read the key codes. It contains 16-byte display RAM, and the figure shows the pin diagram of the Intel 8279. It is also a 40-pin IC and the pins are named accordingly. Data bus, that is DB0 to DB7, chip select, and read bar, write bar, and the control and the timing signals, namely clock, reset, blank display, that is BD bar, scan lines, that is SL0 to SL3, and return lines RL0 to RL7, shift, control or strobed input mode, FIFO, sensor RAM, status logic, interrupt request, display section, and outputs like out A0 to out A3, out B0 to out B3. This 8279 can be grouped into 4 sections, namely keyboard section, display section, scan section, and CPU interface, that is microprocessor interface section. Those 40-pin IC can be grouped in this way: CPU interface, keyboard data, display data. And this diagram shows the architecture of 8279, which consists of display address registers, data buffers, input output control, FIFO, sensor RAM status, and display RAMs, control and timing registers, FIFO 8x8 FIFO sensor RAM, keyboard debounce and control, display registers, timing and control unit, scan counter, and return lines. The keyboard section consists of 8 return lines, namely RL0 to RL7. These are the input lines which are connected to one terminal of keys, while the other terminal of the keys are connected to the decoded scan lines. These are normally high but pulled low when a key is pressed. It has 2 additional input, namely shift and control or strobe. The keys are automatically debounced. The 2 operating modes of the keyboard section are 2-key lockout and N-key rollover. In the 2-key lockout mode, if 2 keys are pressed at a time, only the first key is recognized. Only the first key which is pressed is recognized. In the N key rollover mode, when two keys are being pressed at a time, keys are recognized and their codes are stored in first out. So the key which has been pressed first is executed first and then the second one. The keyboard section also have 8x8 first in first out RAM. The display section has 8 output lines divided into two groups, A0 to A3 and B0 to B3. The output lines can be used either as a single group of 8 lines or as a group of 4 lines in conjunction with the scan lines for a multiplexed display. The output lines are connected to the anodes through driver transistor in case of common cathode 7 segment LEDs. And in the scan section has a scan counter and 4 scan lines, that is SL0 to SL3. In decoded scan mode, the output of the scan lines will be similar to a 2 to 4 decoder. The microprocessor interface section, the microprocessor interfaces takes care of the transfer between 8279 and the processor. This section has 8 bidirectional data lines DB0 to DB7 for data transfer between 8279 to the microprocessor. The control signals write bar and read bar and the chip select CS bar and A0 are used for read write to 8279. It has an interrupt request line IRQ for interrupt driven data transfer with the microprocessor. The 8279 requires an internal clock frequency of 100 kHz. This can be obtained by dividing the input clock by an internal prescaler. And the command words is given here. The keyboard display mode. The command word is of 8-bit length starting from D0 to D7. D0, D1, D2 are used for keyboard mode, so it is K, and D3, D4, these 2 bits are used to define the display mode, and D5, D6, D7 should be 0. And for this, the recommended states of the control words A0 equal to 1 and CS equal to 0. When the D3 and the D4 bit is of the combination 0, 0, then 8-bit character left entry is activated. If it is 0, 1, 16 8-bit character left entry, and if it is 1, 0, 8-bit character left right entry, and if it is 1, 16 8-bit character right entry. And in the keyboard mode, if D0, D1, D2 or 000, 0001, 010 up to 111, the keyboard modes are encoded scan 2 key lockout, decoded scan 2 key lockout, encoded scan n key rollover, decoded scan n key rollover, and it goes up to strobed input decoded scan.